Hi, this is Wilfredo Hernandez. I'm the director of the LGBTQ New Americans Oral History Project. It is Sunday, June 16th, 2019. We're here in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Community Pride Center. I'm joined by
Jarrett, Lyons, project manager of the LGBTQ New Americans Oral History Project and co-interviewer.
And today's interview is with...
My name is AB.
And AB, how do you identify in the LGBTQ spectrum?
I think I am pansexual.
Pansexual?
Yeah,
Yeah. Great.
mainly gay.
Thank you. So AB, maybe we can start off with you telling us where you grew up.
Growing up in Turkey was tough as a gay person. My family is very conservative.
When did you first realize you were different?
It started very early. Like I was completely different from the other children, I guess. Like I was more feminine, as they told me. Like, yeah, my parents were like calling me like, they were like, oh, he belongs to women, like he's like more feminine. So they thought I was trans. So being trans is kind of like acceptable. But then like when I was growing up, I get abused by my family members. My brother, he abused me at first. And it took like until I was 14 from different people in my family. So I couldn't talk for like a couple of years. So that made them think I was like disabled or I was like mad or crazy. So that covered my feminine part. So it was like, so I didn't basically get killed because, you know, I was gay. Basically, it starts from the culture. We have like a horrible culture in Middle East or basically in Turkey. Like every man has to have a boy, kind of like boy toy. It comes from the ancient history, I guess. Like the masculinity is like having sex with a boy is very masculine thing. So it's like people are like grown up. People are like very, how can I say? Like they feel more manly when they have, you know, interaction with boys, like sexually, like when they abuse boys, when they treat them badly. Like some of the people who abused me were like really violent. Like some of them, they didn't even have sex with me. Like, you know, what it's like they didn't really sexually abuse me, but more violence while they were like playing with their genitals. Like they pour acid on my hands. Like, you know, they cut me here. Like I have a cut here. Here you cannot see because I was too, you know, young. Yeah. So it's like the culture itself, and actually most of the people knows about it. Like, because we have even like an idiom, I guess in English it says, like we have a saying, a man can sleep without a sheet, but he cannot sleep without a boy. So that is like a main mentality around abusing kids and children and like sexual activities. And they don't consider themselves gays. Like they consider themselves more man. So it's very common in Turkey for man, growing up man, to sleep with younger boys, like age between, it depends, like even it can be a very young age, you know, like until 14th. It's like, oh, I had sex with this boy. And they can even publicly, like openly talk about it or joke about it. But nobody would questioning them and be like, hey, like, what's going on? What, like, that is something wrong. You don't hear that.
So what is considered gay?
I was considered gay. So, like, because I was abused and I was more feminine, or they thought I was feminine, so I was gay. I was threat for them. But as long as you keep it under the table, nobody, like most of the families know about it, but everybody like turn their heads away. So they don't want to see that part. Yeah, like my family did basically. They knew more or less I was getting abused from my uncle, my brother. Like I was different. I was coming home bleeding, like my face, like my hands. They were like, oh, he's a kid, he's playing with kids, and they fight. He should be a man. He should like grow up strong. So actually, I never hugged my family. I never hugged my dad, my mom. Like that is very considered to be weak. You cannot show emotions. You cannot, express your feelings. Express, like.
When you were growing up in Turkey, did you have any escape from that? Did you have any hobbies or things you were able to do for pleasure?
Well, I grew up in a village, so there was not really much to do. So basically, I spent most of my time is like running away from people who were trying to, abuse me. And that was like constantly, every day. Like my brother was living with me, like, in the same house. How can I escape from him? Or from my step-uncle, or from cousins of my father. More I grew up, I start, showing more expression of myself, my behavior. I was like, a little bit more open-minded because I was going to school. So that was like a threat for me, because that they were like looking at me as a gay person, basically. Like they were joking about it, like especially people who abused me were like trying to do the pilot thing, I guess they call it. Like they were talking openly in front of my dad or other people, my relatives, about me, joking about how feminine I am or how they will find me a Syrian husband and all that thing. It was like I had to kind of like figure out to, get out of Turkey, otherwise I would get killed.
And where did you go?
I applied for the school in Europe. I managed to get some scholarships, and then I went to Europe. I studied like 5 years. During the summers, I was going back to Turkey for a while, not seeing family that much. I was working in West, so I could see my family maybe a week or two. And then, of course, there was many problems. I would fight with my brother who abused me because he was like, or my step-uncle. Like the last visit I had, like we went to a big family dinner. And my step-uncle who abused me was like, oh, I heard in Europe you are jumping from the car to car, like you are selling yourself. And the way my father was looking at me was scary. It was scary. After that, I really didn't see them that much until I had to go back to Turkey last time, which is a year ago in the summer. Because like I had issues with my boyfriend, so I broke up with him. I went back to Turkey, and then I start working a little bit, and I was like trying to, come to US like in a normal way, which means like get a job, or enroll to school, and things suddenly get so complicated after the family dinner with my step-uncle. Yeah, when I applied for the visa, there was this military issue that every man has to go to military in Turkey. And once they figure out you're gay or you express yourself as a gay male, then you have to prove them you are gay, which it contains that like you have to have pictures, a video of yourself having sex with a partner or anybody else. You find somebody, just, you convince them, you have the picture with you, you go to interview, they interview you, and then you go to doctor tests, which they do a lot of tests on your body. They check you, and then it takes like almost 2 years, and then you will get exception from the military, so you don't need to go to military because you are gay. And they accept that. They are like, okay, fine, you don't need to go to military, you are a gay person. Then they give you a report, a medical report, which is say you are like psychosexual or psychopath or something like that. It's like that you have some mental problems. So it's like sickness. Being gay is like, it's considered to be like illness, like mentally. So that gives you no right at all in Turkey. With that paper, you cannot work. If you are a lawyer, if you're a doctor, you cannot do your work. If you're a teacher, you cannot teach. Because they think if you are a gay person and you are a doctor or you are a teacher, then you will make other people also gay. So sometimes if you tell them like, oh yeah, I'm a gay person, they wouldn't even talk to you. They would just move away from you because they would think if they will talk to you, you might change them or you might convert them to be gay.
So did you have to go through that process?
I didn't. I left before that.
So because you were able to go to school?
But they did detain me in Istanbul in the hotel, 5 in the morning, 6 police officers showed up. They were like, oh, you are running away from military. What is the reason of not you joining the military? And I was like, hey, I'm student, I am this, I played low key. I was like, I'm doing my school like until, and then they made me sign a paper and they didn't even actually explain anything when they detained me in the hotel. They didn't talk to me at all. They were like, are you this person? I was like, yes. They were like, come. They were like, sign here. They gave me a couple of papers. And I'm like, what is this? Can you just tell me something about it? He was like, oh, you will figure out soon. So I had to sign. Otherwise, I was going to go to jail. So I signed the papers. And they were like, you have to go to military office in 15 days. So I went there. And this lady, she just handed me papers where it says, your weight, your height. So that was like the description for the military, joining the military. And I was like, hey, I don't want to join the military, I'm a student. Like I have still a year to go. And then she was like, okay, I will give you 15 days. I will register you as a soldier. Then you can leave the country. But I didn't do that because I didn't trust her. I was like, no. So I just left. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. I will let you know. So I left. I went back to my hometown. I talked to those people there. And almost in front of my father, I was gonna say like, I'm gay. That is why I don't wanna go to military. Because he was like he was putting so pressure on me, that military guy. He was like, why don't you wanna serve the military? You don't like your country? Do you hate your country? Are you a terrorist? Are you so open-minded? Are you Western? And all that questions. And I'm like, no, I just have a school. I need to just do my school, then I will go to military. There is nowhere to go, So yeah, and then actually that day I told my father if anything would happen with the military, I would tell them I'm gay. I said that word to him. And he was like, shut up. It's not gonna come to that point. Because of course he wanted to, get me to go back to Europe, get my education or my diploma. Is all that so he could show off, my son is studying in Europe. After, I got scholarship from a cult, which was very, very restricted cult. It's like a religious group. They have them here too, actually, in US. So first year, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go to bar. Anyway, that was good for me too, because I had to learn English. I had to, focus on my education. But they were so restricted. And you have to pray a lot, and you have to read only their books. They have, they want you to be basically their soldier. Mentally, ideologically, they want you to be, in their circle of ideology, the opinion, I guess, or the things they follow, the path they follow. They want you to follow them as well. Then I left them. I was like, I'm not gonna come back again here. I'm going away from you guys. I don't want your scholarships and anything. So I start working, paying my school. And then I was in this language website where you learn English, when you practice with other people. And I started talking with this Italian guy. And he was bothering me all the time. Whenever I'm online, he would be like, hey, what's up? How are you? He was just regular person. I didn't know anything about me actually being gay too. Okay, I knew I was attracted to men, but I never really had courage to say it. Even in front of the mirror, I would never be able to be like, hey, this is me, I am gay. I would never be able to say that. So, and then we start talking and we develop kind of a relationship, online relationship. And then he was like, what about you coming to visit me to Italy? I'm like, okay. Like, you know, I went there. Then he was like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, start cooking pasta. And then he started cooking pasta. And then he was like, oh, I'm gonna show you the house. And then in the bedroom, he started kissing me and I pushed him away. I was like, what's going on? You know, and he was like, oh, calm down, blah, blah. So, yeah, that was the first time I actually interacted with a man. And that was beautiful. That was good. I like it. It was me.
So, how did things progress after school?
So during the school thing, I was living with Turkish people. So I had many problems. So I had to get even fake girlfriend. I talked with one of my female friends and I was like, hey, can you be my girlfriend for like a couple of months? Because people, they start talking, because my boyfriend back then, an Italian guy, also we became boyfriends. And then I dated him like for 3 years almost. So he came to visit me in the country I was studying. And then some of my friends saw him or I introduced to them, and then they start talking about me, like, oh, why don't you have a girlfriend and all that thing. So I get a girlfriend for a while, fake one.
And how did that feel that you had to have a girlfriend?
I did whatever it took me to survive, basically. Not to, get out, like be out as a gay person, because the country, it was like in East Europe, so it was very conservative. They're like very Catholic, so it was really hard to maintain a healthy gay relationship or gay life, basically.
So, did you stay there after you graduated from school?
No, I left. I left to another country in Europe, but meanwhile, we broke up with my Italian boyfriend because he didn't also tell his parents he was gay, and they're very Catholic. So he was like, oh, if they get suspicious or if they will think that we are gays, then you will have to get out of my life and I would never see you again and all that things. So I was like, okay, then, we better finish the relationship. So I move on to my, life because I want to have something real. Then after I finished my school, I started dating another guy. So I moved to his country. And then we stayed together for like 2 years. No, almost 2 years. But I was like basically stuck because he was like, he was also not physically, but mentally, he was abusing me a lot because he knew my family was so restricted. So he was like, oh, if you're gonna leave me, I'm gonna tell your parents you're gay. And I didn't have any permission of staying in that country. So I applied for it, but it took like forever. So I was basically stuck in that country. And then finally they rejected me. They were like, hey, your boyfriend who is sponsor for you or whatever in the papers is like drug user or he stole some medicine from the hospital. So we cannot grant you a permission of staying in the country. So you have to leave in 10 days. So that gave me like a chance of me breaking up with him and leave. But I was like, oh, I'm gonna come back. I told him a lot of lies back then, like that time. So just to, leave him. I was even ready to go back to my country, Turkey, which was horrible for me, just to, to get away from him because he was a really bad person. So I went back. Yeah, I think I talked about that part. So I started working in Turkey. And then things, really get bad. Like, as a gay person in Turkey, you don't have a life. Like, you cannot, even basically, I had an earring the last year. It was a huge problem. Like, my parents, they would be like, oh, take it off when you go out. Or why you have an earring? Are you gay? Even I remember one time we had like a guest, and then he was like, oh, I know people who is they wear earrings for two reasons. So you might have one of them or two of them. First is like you're an atheist, like you don't really believe in religion, or you must be a gay person in front of my family. Like there was really a couple of times where I could see the way my father was looking at me, full of hate. He hated me basically since I was a kid. He never, I mean, he was there, but he wasn't at the same time. Then while I was planning to leave Turkey, so my ex, he had contact with my brothers through Facebook. So he started, telling them some stuff about me. And my brother came and he was like, oh, your friend, from Europe, he's contacting me, he's talking about you, he's asking about you, what's going on between you. And I'm like, oh, we had a business deal. We did business together, carpet, pillow, whatever, and I'm like, I need to leave. So I just packed my stuff and I went to Istanbul. And then while I was in Istanbul, I already got my ticket. Then my sister called me. And she was like, hey, your friend from Europe or whatever just called or texted your brother that he's saying you are gay and you are a hooker or you are, this and that, so you don't come back. So my sister was kind enough to let me know. So I was like, okay. And then I was so scared. So I called one of my friends. He was living next to the airport. So I stayed with him like almost 2 weeks hiding in Istanbul. Because I knew if my family would tell the government about me, then they would definitely find me right away. So I had to hide. But then at the same time, they didn't, thanks God. So yeah, and then I went to airport. That is like the intense moments. Because I was like running away from the military at the same time. They could see me on the system. They could block me. And then my family were chasing me. I'm sure they were, because that's how it is. It is like an honor. Once you disrespect them, by expressing yourself as a gay person, then the only thing it would clean you up is death. So, and also I'm not just saying, I'm not just saying it's death because it was I have witnessed the death of honor killing in my life before. I have seen my cousins, I have seen, my nephew, they all get killed in horrible ways. I had this cousin, she was 17, she fell in love with a Western man, Turkish man, but from West. And they didn't approve her marriage, so she ran away with him to his parents' house. They went after her, they convinced them, they were like, oh, okay, we're gonna take her back. You're gonna come in a traditional way, ask for marriage, and we will accept, and then they can get married, so we don't have the, what they call it, it doesn't seem that she disrespected us or disrespected our religion, the culture, the traditions, the honor, the family. So they were like, okay, so they brought her back, and her uncle shot her in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they threw her body right on the street. Nobody even touched it. So, and then her brother, who was 13, 14, I guess, called the police, and he was like, hey, I shot my sister because she disrespected our family honor. Come and arrest me. He wasn't even the one who killed her. Just because he would get less jail, he will get less punishment. So there is no actually justice at all about that. Because once you disrespect your family and you let's say you say, okay, hey, I'm gay. They will try to kill you. But then, before they kill you even, they have these huge family meetings where it was like actually a court. Like main big guys would sit there and they would be like, okay, who's gonna kill? Who's gonna get the punishment? Who's gonna get the blame or anything like that? And they will actually make a plan about it. So actually everybody should or has to go to jail. Everybody should get punishment. That is the justice. But instead of that, the government comes and pick the person who said, I killed. That's it. And they would close the story.
Do you feel like something like that would have happened to you if they found you?
Yeah, definitely. There is no other way, because the main thing about actually this kind of issues back in Middle East is, even if your parents are okay with you being gay, the society, the community is not. So they would push your parents, they would shame them, like they would, spit on their face, they would beat them up, they would be like, oh, you're not man enough, your son is gay, your son is sinful, your son will go to hell if you don't kill him and punish him in this earth. So when he will go to afterlife, he would go to heaven because you got already punished by getting killed. So actually your parents also has to kind of kill you. You know what I mean? To protect themselves, basically. Because if they don't do that, then they cannot live in the city. They will have to move somewhere where nobody knows them, because we have huge, big tribes, family tribes. Like my tribe is at least 300,000 people. So I am not responsible only for my family. If I am gay, then I am a threat for everybody else.
You just have to say that again because he touched his chest.
Can you repeat that last part of your sentence?
Okay.
You said basically, if I'm gay, it's not just I'm responsible for everybody else.
Yeah. So if I am gay, it's not an issue only for my family. It's an issue for the whole society and community. Because they will try to shame my family, and they will push them to kill me. Because that is considered to be really bad things, to be gay or to be different, actually. Not only being gay, even if you are a different person, even if you have a different ideology, or if you have a different faith than them, you are a threat. So what? This is the only thing actually they know. Most of the people who has no education back in Middle East, they stick to traditions so much. They don't even care about religion, honestly. Because in a holy book, it doesn't say, okay, if somebody comes up, oh, he's gay, it doesn't say kill them. There are maybe certain punishments, but there is no killing. But they do kill. So actually the traditions are more strong than even the religion.
So at this point, you were at the airport. Right?
Yeah.
You were at the airport, and where were you heading to? Where were you trying to go to?
Okay, the only possible option was for me USA, because I had a tourist visa for 10 years, and I got the visa before because I knew I had to make a plan, because I didn't know what was going to happen to me, if I had to run away, or I had to have an open door. So I hold my visa all the time, next to me. So when the things get so complicated, it was right time to use my visa and come to the United States. But then I had to go through all the security checks, which is 6 or 7 points in the airport. So I had to actually press on my chest, because my heart was getting out of my chest, because it was so intense. I was so scared. If they would find me, then I would be dead. I would be done. I would be okay. So I was actually I lost almost 10 or 10, 15 years of my age in that moment. I felt it so badly. I felt so weak. So when I gave my passport to the guy, I was like this. I was like, here's my passport. And then he looked at the passport and he was like, oh, you need to get something. You have to pay to leave the country even. And I was like, okay. And he was like, oh, you can come back right away here. You don't have to wait on the line. I'm like, perfect. So I went and I'm like, here, this is all the money. Just give me the thing, you know. It's called post or poll or whatever. So I went to him and he stamped on my passport. And then I had to go through US check. And then they look at my luggage. And also at the same time, on my way to airport, the moment we entered the airport road, the police stopped the car. And they asked me a couple of questions. They were like, where are you traveling? Why you are traveling? And I'm like, I'm a tourist. I'm going to go to US visiting a friend. So it's like in every part of the street or the location in Turkey, we have like police and they would check your ID. Like they would stop you. Whenever I would get out of the subway in Istanbul, they would be like, hey, come here. Because I look, more Middle Eastern. Like I have more dark features than Western people. So they think that you are, a tourist or something. So I got stopped many times in Istanbul, even for being, even like, just because I was like a little bit different than other people. Like I wasn't blonde or whatever. Yeah, then I went to US checkpoint. They checked my visa, they checked my passport, they checked everything. They scanned my body or whatever. And then I had to go to another part where I had to show them my computer or the iPad I had back then. But it had a very strong cover. And the guy was like, take it off the cover. And I had like long nails kind of thing. And while I was trying to do that, it was so intense moments, I almost broke my finger. I was like, here it is, just, look at it like, and just let me go. And then everything was fine. I boarded the plane, I was sitting in the plane, and like the plane was like delayed or something. And I'm like, they will come and get me. They will come and get me, like, please, like, let's take off. Yeah, and then finally it took off. It was actually in the morning. It was like 5, 6. So it was sunrise. So it was a beautiful sunrise in Istanbul when I took off. And I'm like, bye, Turkey. Never again. I laugh because it is nothing really to be serious about. You know what I mean? It was my life.
Wow.
I'm over it. I'm living my life. I'm not gonna stuck in my past and be like, oh, how miserable my life is. I had this, I had that. No, I lost already 20 years in my life. You know how it feels to get raped basically until you are 14. The only thing you know is like somebody's touching you. That was bad. So yeah, I'm ready to live my life. That is the reason I am in US. Of course I'm gonna laugh and I'm gonna talk about it like a fairy tale. I was reborn that moment when the plane took off. Yeah, of course I was laughing. I started laughing. I was free. I saved my life. I did.
So that trip, over the course of that trip, you were coming to a new place. Did you know anyone in New York? Did you have any friends or support, or did you have any contact with anyone here who was going to be able to help you when you landed, or was it all brand new?
No, actually, I was here here for a couple of months, visiting some friends before Turkey, when I was back in my school. So I met a couple of people. There is actually Oliver Anana. He got interviewed by you.
So when you came here, how long were you here before you had asked for asylum?
I tried to ask for asylum as soon as possible because I knew it took long time to get processed, but they changed the rules. So it was like the moment you give your application in, they would interview you in a couple of weeks. But finding a lawyer is like kind of a challenge because they have like a lot of backlogs, like a lot of people asking for asylum. So I was able to talk to my friend Olivier, and he contacted Immigration Equality, and then they had backlogs, and then they I contacted Anti-Violence Project, and I explained them my situation, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna take your case. Even it was funny, like the lawyer Christina, she was like, you don't even need us. If you're gonna go to immigration office and tell them your story, they will give you the asylum right away. Yeah, and then after 3 months, I was able to submit my applications in, and they called me for the interview. Interview took like 2.5 hours. They ask you everything. This interview is nothing compared to that interview, and that interview is serious. Your lawyer cannot talk at all there. You have to defend yourself. You have to win. Like, you have to prove them that you deserve another chance in this life. And that is tough. That is really not easy. Like, you are trying to tell them, hey, if I go back, they will kill me. So please, like, let me leave. Like, you're basically begging them to let you stay or give you another chance in the life. Yeah, and then that was like, there was this interesting question she asked me. She was like, tell me what was the most, what was the question? She was like, tell me what was the most psychological and physical damage you got. And of course, psychological one is easy. It's like fear. You fear all the time. Like, sometimes I look back when I'm walking on the street in New York, I'm like, is there anybody like I know or from Turkey or like, my family members or anything? Like, you fear constantly. And then physical one was like when my step uncle was like abusing me or raping me, basically. Pressed with his feet on my face and destroyed my nose. So I had a bit of a nose before. Then he cracked it, like it was painful. I felt it in my brain. Yeah. And yeah, the interview took 2.5 hours. And then at the end of the interview, she was like, what are you hoping? Like, is there anything you want to say? And I'm like, I want to live like everybody else. I want to have small problems. You know what I mean? Like, okay, small problems. I mean, like, I told her I wanted to worry about how to pay bills, how to go to school, how to wake up for the school or like work, or how can I travel, or like, oh, I lost my luggage. I didn't want to fear anymore. I told her I want to just live like everybody else. It's like that is the thing actually. Like, it's like my main basic human rights is to have freedom, like to be able to express myself, to live basically. So yeah, then she was like, well, I wish you good luck and everything, and then you will hear from us in 2 weeks. And of course I was like, is there anything you can tell me? She was like, not surely, but like, she gave me some like positive mimics on her face. So I understood I got asylum. Because it was obvious, I had a horrible life story.
How long was it within 2 weeks that you heard about a decision after that?
Oh, no. It took them actually 2 months to get back to me. Because they were like, oh, we're gonna be in holiday for a week, so you don't have to come to center. We're gonna send you the answer, the result, to your mail. So I waited, and yeah, I was granted asylum, I think in September, and I heard from them in November. It's fine, but it's tough process. But after you get it, actually, it's so easy. You just need to find a lawyer, talk to the people, professionals, write your story down, tell them everything, be honest, and then, yeah, like they cannot deny you and send you back to death, basically. I feel so free in New York, walking on the street, be whatever I want. Sometimes, like intentionally, I act so feminine, and it feels so good. Nobody cares. Nobody even sees me. That was actually one of my dream, to be in a city where nobody recognizes me. You know what I mean? Like nobody cares. Like I could be whoever I want without feeling responsible or feeling like, oh, so what the society might say. Because in Turkey, if you have shorts or if you have this kind of jeans or earring or anything different than what the culture is, they would insult you or they would, beat you up. They would do something bad to you. So being in New York with all this freedom, it feels great. And then I am living with one of my friend. He's a big support for me. And then I just got accepted to a good school in Manhattan. So yeah, thank you. Things are like good. Like nobody should really give up. Like I had a horrible life. From the moment I remember was like somebody was touching me when I was really, really little. Until 14. And from then till I was in the plane, I had to deal with many problems in my life. But at the end, if you really, if you have the courage, like you have to push yourself a little bit and you have to see the future. Like when I was really facing all that problems or like dealing with bad people in my life, I learned not to even cry. I didn't cry when they were abusing me. I was laughing basically, not because I was crazy, because you get used to it. You don't fight it anymore. Because I was like, all I was hoping was like, okay, one day this will be over. This might be my life right now, but in the future it's not gonna be. So I didn't try to kill myself, or I didn't try to, do anything wrong until the right moment would come, and then I would get out of the situation, and that's what I did.
Is there anything that you want people seeing this video, this interview, to know about LGBTQ immigrants in general?
As a country, Turkey is like, we have almost 80 million people. We have a huge number of trans people. Actually, it's the biggest trans population is in Istanbul. We have many trans people. Perhaps you heard of Hande Kader. She was stabbed and get killed. She was the person who was telling on the Pride that you are recording, but nobody like posting this, or you don't show it. She said that on the Pride before she got, after that actually video, she got killed in Istanbul. We do need like US, England, or like more like open-minded countries about LGBT rights to focus on human rights and LGBT rights, specifically trans and gay rights in Turkey. That is a huge problem there. Like trans people, most of them are like sex workers because they cannot do anything else. They don't have any rights. Gay people at the same time, still the same because they don't have any rights. It's like we need some international support. At least if we could talk about it and bring it up, maybe things will change. Even if it's a little bit, slightly. I'm not expecting a huge change, which is impossible right now for Turkey. But in the future, like we have to address the problems. We have to see them. Like trans people or LGBT members, we are all humans. We all need safety. We all need a place to live. We all need, food on the table. We all need love, feelings, sport, families. Like Turkey should do better, and we can do better in Turkey. Like there are people who is really open-minded and working towards changing things, changing the society. Like we need to address the issues first. We need to educate people. Like I see many events here in New York actually, and I even went to gay global conference thing. They didn't talk about Turkey at all. I mean, they didn't really talk about any country specifically, but there was a couple of countries who were like there presenting their countries. Like we need to bring up the issues, at least, you know, talk about them, you know, post them like in social media or like news channels. And it's also funny when BBC wrote about Ahmet Yıldız, who was killed by his father. He got shot 9 times in Istanbul on the street. And his father had to travel from Istanbul to the corner of Turkey in east, which it will took him at least 24 hours by bus. Perhaps he used private car or bus. They could find him right away. They didn't even care. So Turkey actually, as in justice system of Turkey, is not helpful. Like there is no justice for LGBT people and trans people there. If you get killed, you are killed. You are gay, who cares about you? Like this must be really, like, we have to bring it up and we have to focus on it and we have to be like, hey, what's going on? Like, where is your justice? Ahmet Yıldız, he was like 26, a student, and just because he was gay, and he told his family. He was a brave, you know, guy. He told his family, he called them, he was like, hey, listen, like, I publish gay stories, I'm gay, that's who I am. And they were like, oh, come back, we're gonna marry you, you know, we're gonna find you a girl. And sorry to say that, but like, I guess, like, this is the thing usually they say, oh, once you feel a penis in your vagina, or once you I don't know how to say that. So the general saying about is like, okay, once you get married, if you're a gay person, and once you get married to a lady and you have the sex with her, then you will be fine. It's the same with lesbian or trans people. They were like, oh, once you have the sex with man, then you will be fine. No, it is not fine. They're not gonna be fine. I wasn't gonna be fine. I had a horrible life, but I still was me. I choose to be me because that is who I am. I cannot change myself for anybody. I couldn't do it. I wanted. I went to religious places. I walked in the mosque. I prayed 5 times in a day. I tried books. I read. I stayed away from like looking at people, like guys especially, and everything. But like, I knew it inside me, like I knew I was gay, like I was attracted to men. And that's who I was. So actually, they cannot be like, hey, we can change you, we can convert you. That doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't have to work. That's who they are, that's who I am. Like, I reject the ideology of changing people. You cannot change them. That's who I am. You cannot change me. Did they beat me up because I was feminine or gay acting guy? Yes, they did. Did they treat me badly? They did. Nothing stopped me of being who I am. Even if you kill people, they killed Ahmet. So it's like, so what it changed? Did they change? Did he become straight? No. Even if they would like, even if I could stay in Turkey and then they would still do the same things, abuse me, beat me up, you know, the rest of my life, I would still know who I am.